So that's really what I'm trying to convince you of. But let me convince you first that it is evidence-based. This is an evidence-based conference. This is one sort of review of earlier CBT studies. And what these are bars for CBT, supportive contact, and just standard care. So you could see the bars are bigger for people who got CBT. So, and this is for positive symptom reduction at end of treatment and then for a short-term follow-up period. The bars for CBT are also bigger. These are effect sizes. They actually get bigger after the therapy ends because people keep executing their skills that you've taught them, and they keep practicing them, and they get better and better over time. And that beats supportive contact and standard care for this slide showing for negative symptoms, so the apathy and the withdrawal, as well as the positive symptoms of hallucinations and delusions. I drift around, so I hope you can keep hearing me. This is just another meta-analysis. This might be one that Kim is on. If you read the literature, you'll find Kim's on every other article on schizophrenia that you read. And this is one of those every other ones. They reviewed 7 studies, cumulative N, a large N in the hundreds. The mean effect size for end of treatment is about half a standard deviation, which is a pretty large effect size. For reducing, again, hallucinations and delusions. This was focused on positive symptoms. Number of sessions didn't seem to matter. Most interventions are like 6 to 9 months, typically. And at follow-up, the effects, this number is bigger than that. So again, Kim and I were talking about this at the break, that you finish treatment with someone and you think, well, they kind of got less convicted in those beliefs, and I think I got them curious about their thinking, but I'm not sure anything changed. And then you run into them later on and you find they kept getting curious and changing their behavior. And when people change their behavior, they're faced with new evidence about their world, about success. And they say, well, maybe I do need to believe in myself more. And so with more and more successes, beliefs continue to change and people get better and better. But the key is to give them skills they can take away with them. And then, in a Pollyanna way, I always hope for the best and assume they're going to get better. Here's just another meta-analysis, again focused on positive symptoms, which is what the majority of the studies have been on, showing a little bit smaller effect sizes at the end of treatment. Most people are improving on positive symptoms. So this is just a brief summary of the evidence. So mostly these studies have been focused on people who have a lot of positive symptoms. They wouldn't enroll them in the trials if their symptoms were well controlled on medications already. And not surprisingly, since they were going after hallucinations and delusions, trying to reduce those severity, they did. Some impact on negative symptoms and reduced distress, but not much on life functioning, like true recovery goals, living, learning, working, and socializing. And that's really what social skills training goes after, and that's what CBSST goes after. And so now, in the last 18 minutes I have left, I'm going to tell you sort of how to do CBT, or how to enhance your social skills training interventions by adding cognitive interventions to them. So in our work, and probably most of you, one of the primary focus is on the client's goals. So people don't come into therapy and say, I want to get rid of this darn delusion about the FBI. People come in and say they want a girlfriend, or they want to work, or they want to ride the bus, they want to leave the house more. They want the American dream. They want things that everybody wants in their life: more money, more freedom, more independence. And so that's what you work on in therapy, and that's what the focus of the intervention we use is. So we just try to figure out what are the obstacles to good goal achievement. It might be skills deficits. So if people don't have the skills to achieve what they want, we break it down and in a systematic way focus on teaching those skills, the way Kim and Tom discussed. But it's true that as you get better at skills, you'll be faced with your success and think, hey, I can do this. I can have this. What that is a change in your thinking. I believe I can have this. Before I didn't think I could, but now I'm better at it, so maybe I can have this. That can happen naturally in the course of just teaching people skills and having them get better at executing them. But sometimes it doesn't, And so what cognitive therapy does is gives you specific techniques to go after those beliefs and say, hey, what are you thinking right there? Let's talk about that. So you just talk about thoughts instead of just assuming they're going to get better with better skill execution. And you'll go after those thoughts, beliefs in yourself, negative attitudes I talked about. And then we also, people often, most social skills training packages include problem-solving training. Sometimes that's separated out as a separate kind of intervention, but there's a systematic way. There's 5 steps to solve problems that are typically in problem-solving training. Specify the problem, compile solutions, assess the best solution, lay out a plan, execute the plan, and evaluate it. If it didn't work, tweak it. You know, it seems straightforward. Well, of course, that's what we all do intuitively. Well, what's the problem? What are solutions? What's the best way? What do I have to do it? But sometimes people have a lot of trouble with specifying that problem, and they get stuck on a solution, and they keep doing the same thing over and over. And so there's a systematic way to teach people to solve problems, and usually that's in social skills training interventions. It's in Bob Liberman's intervention that you can get online from UCLA, and it's in a lot of social skills modules. It's included as a part of the package. And some people just don't know how to do that. So if you don't have that skill or some other skill, you teach the skill and all the while keeping an eye on the thoughts. So depending on which one of those things might be in the way of the person's goal to ride the bus or to do something different in their life, you'll go after those things. And the intervention that we have incorporates all those components. So this intervention has cognitive therapy, which I'm going to spend the rest of the time telling you about. But also social skills training, so asking a support person, lots of role plays, all that stuff that Kim talked about making eye contact, speech volume. We spend a lot of time doing role plays. All those, I gotta find out where that's published, because we have exactly the same how to express positive and negative feelings and making a positive request and active listening. I think that might be from Behavioral Family Management, isn't it? From Falloon or something. I'm like, oh, gee, we plagiarized that, put it right in our manual. I got to find out where that came from, so I don't plagiarize that. But anyway, and then of course, problem solving. Now, what I just mentioned was those 5 steps in problem solving. In our intervention, we use a lot of acronyms. I'll tell you about the 3 C's or SCALE. Again, people don't remember these skills in the real world out there. And so we make up acronyms to help people remember the skills. The 5 steps for problem solving, I just said, spell out the word SCALE. Specify the problem, compile alternatives, assess the best one, lay out the plan, and evaluate and execute. So we give people those things on laminated cards they can put in their wallet, or things you can take home. All this is in a workbook that people have, they take home with them. So there's a lot of memory aids to help people bring these skills into the real world. Kim and Tom were talking about the importance of getting them out there and practicing them in the real world. So I'm not going to really say anything else about social skills training the rest of the time. I've told you problem solving is a big part of it, and role plays and communication training and asking for support are big parts of it. But the part you haven't heard much about yet today is this part about how can we go after these thoughts in this process.